start recording. Actually, sorry, it just is because I have to record this and I wasn't recording earlier. Recording that I'm letting everybody know that we are putting this on our YouTube channel. That's a disclaimer, that it will be public to anyone who wants to watch it. So if you do not want your face to be shown, please click on the stop video button. And I'm going to get started. Everybody knows me, Dorson from Spinal Cord Injury BC. Thank you all for joining us today on cool stuff that we're doing. So why don't we just, we've got like 11 people on right now. Why don't we just sort of go around and introduce ourselves, and then maybe I'll get the James to get us started. But Jeff, why don't you introduce yourself? We'll get started.
Okay, I'm Jeff Gartrell. I live in Kelowna.
Awesome. And Cheryl?
Hi, I'm Cheryl Newman. I live here in Surrey, BC.
Thanks, Cheryl. Maureen?
Hi, Maureen Straza, and I live on a little lake called Tyee Lake, just north of Williams Lake.
Oh, James, we'll get to you in a minute. Marnie?
Is this working?
It is.
Okay. Hi, I'm Marnie. I'm from North Delta.
All right. And Karen, you want to introduce yourself right now?
Yep. Hey guys, I'm Karen and I'm from Vancouver Island, Victoria.
Awesome. Josh?
Hi, I'm Josh and I'm based out of Vernon. Apparently having troubles articulating. I'm based out of Vernon currently, but I'm more nomadic by nature.
Awesome. And Ebby, we can't see your face right now, but you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Ebby from Vancouver.
Awesome. And Kim?
Hi. I don't know how you guys can see my face, but I'm Kim from Surrey. Nice to see you, Cheryl. Cheryl was at our recent South Fraser Active Living Group meeting.
Awesome.
Hi, Kim. I can see
Hi.
you.
Nice to hear you. Glad you joined.
Awesome. And I see Brandy is on now as well. Irene, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Irene. I'm from Burnaby. I'm also visually impaired, so I prefer just to be on the phone because it takes me a while to navigate everything on the computer. So it's, yeah, that's me.
No problem. Thanks, Irene. Brandy, I don't know if you're set up, but do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
There we go. I think I'm still called you, apparently.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm the other Terry Thorson. Brandy Stiles. I'm with Spinal Cord Injury BC and Wheelchair Sports in Prince George, and do peer activities and stuff in Northern BC.
Cool. We're going to get started with James. So James, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us some of the cool stuff that you got going on in the OK. And then if you wanted to show your video too, there's a share button down below. So you can kind of share your video, or I can do it for you if it's on YouTube, whatever you like. So, but why don't you get us started?
Sure. Well, hi, everybody. Brandy, I haven't seen you in a long time. Yeah, good job. Josh, geez, haven't seen you in a long time either. What's going on, buddy?
Like as usual, I've been missing you, James. Sorry I haven't made any of your events, and I look forward to hearing your recap of them.
Oh, we'll get together soon enough, I'm sure. Yeah, no, thanks, Terry. This is awesome, kind of getting the whole province together and finding out what everybody does. I think that's awesome. We want to do a trip actually up to Prince George here in the next couple months, so we were going to get in touch with you, Brandy, when we get that kind of organized. But yeah, I'm James Heckner with Accessible Okanagan out of Kelowna, but obviously throughout the Okanagan. And we do a lot of events, of course. We also do primarily a lot of promotion of different adaptive activities and events throughout the Okanagan. and kind of promote a number of different groups, whether that's be Spinal Cord Injury BC, whether that be Chris Adaptive Adventures, golfing, like adaptive golfing, basically any adaptive activities that we have going on throughout the region, which is a fair amount. I've got a whole list here, but I mean, I guess the primary things that we like to do is just get people together. So whether that's with the coffee groups with Spinal Cord Injury BC, or with wheelchair rugby, or hand cycling, sailing. Geez, there's numerous events. I don't know if you wanted me to go through everything or just kind of just talk about what we have going on.
Well, why don't you start with what you got going on coming up? And then if anybody has any questions about it, they can go from there.
Oh, okay. Sure, that sounds good. Well, regular coffee groups with Spinal Cord Injury BC, that happens. Josh oversees that up in, of course, up in Kamloops, and then there's Vernon, Kelowna, and Penticton. And that's pretty much weekly or bi-weekly. There's golfing, adaptive golfing every Thursday. We do driving ranges, and it's pretty cool. We've got two machines that we fundraised for, when was that? 5 years ago now? But anyways, we got the 2 machines now, so we're actually able to go out in pairs and actually whack the ball around. We're all pretty terrible, so it doesn't, if you can get 3 holes in, then you're doing okay. We have water skiing event coming up, and that's in August, on August 10th and 11th. It's an adaptive water ski program that we've also been doing for the last few years. An excellent group of volunteers up there with the Kamloops Water Ski Club. The equipment is top notch. We've got beginner skis all the way up to competition carbon fiber, slalom skis, trick skis, jump skis. Just depends on what the person kind of wants to excel at, or if they just want to go and just play around on the water. It's a lot of fun too. But the volunteers are excellent. There's a lot of them. It is very safe if you're not doing the competitive side of things. So definitely don't be discouraged or deterred from going and actually enjoying some of that. Hand cycling events, we've been starting to do a lot more of that over the last couple of weeks. The weather's starting to turn around, and we're going to get some evening rides in, and I'd sure like to get some night rides in. That's a lot of fun too. Actually, I know down there in Vancouver you guys do that, and it always looks like a lot of fun. So yeah, we got to get that going here. And camping, I think we've got a couple events kind of coming up. One would be in August. We do the camping also at the water ski weekend as well, because people are coming from all over the place. Saskatchewan, Vancouver, of course, down here. So it's nice to make kind of a weekend out of it. And then we're probably going to have another camping event that hasn't been scheduled yet, but typically happens in September. So I think that's probably, that's probably kind of what we've got going on right now.
Sounds like a lot of stuff. What do you guys do in the wintertime?
We've had a couple skiing events that, of course, Josh has come out to, which is awesome. Excellent promotion on that. And, what else do we do? Well, we like to go down to, for Halloween. That's always a good one. It's not necessarily a sanctioned event, but it's definitely just a community, whoever just kind of goes down, and Halloween in Vegas is absolutely amazing.
Alexa, Volume 3.
That'd be awesome.
If anybody ever wants to come to that, that's always fun. geez, what else do we do in the winter? Stay warm.
Are your events funded like through AO, or are they?
Some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like some of the camping events we've done like the Soyuz fishing event. Now that's a collaborative of a number of groups, whether that be Wildlife Federation, Spinal Cord Injury BC, Accessible Okanagan, of course. Town of Osoyoos. I mean, basically, we're trying to bring in, as many groups as we can, because it's, whatever the events are, unless it's like, there isn't necessarily any funding required, like a hand cycle trip, then you want to be able to access resources for, like, same with the water ski event, like that's funded primarily by the water ski club. They get the sponsorships and all that. And then I think Spinal Cord Injury has actually funded the barbecues in the past. And then Accessible Okanagan will sponsor the camping or whichever. So if there's any costs and all that associated to that. So
nice.
Yeah, definitely trying to, it's more about partnering with a number of organizations and then marketing and getting it out there so people are aware of what's going on.
Exactly. What are your best turnouts? What do you find people are really interested in over there?
Hand cycling's starting to take off, but the water ski one, of course, is a good one.
Another question while you're thinking about that.
Yeah.
Do you need your own equipment, or do you have equipment for people to try out?
Depends. Hand cycles, if somebody needs to have a hand cycle, then Kamloops Adaptive Sports Association has a couple of them. We've actually had a couple donated to Accessible Okanagan that we've actually provided to the Chris Adaptive Adventures. So if somebody's looking for a hand cycle, then we can find one somewhere. Yeah, one of the biggest issues is trying to actually store a lot of the equipment. So you'll get a lot of equipment donated, but then where do you try and put it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Actually, we've got a number of tennis chairs as well that was provided by the Vernon. Oh, geez, what did they call it back in the day? It's no longer around. Josh, do you remember what it was? Vernon Adaptive Tennis or something?
The specific name of it, I'm not sure, but a lot of that was donated through Quick Turn Production Machine. A fellow by the name of Randy Schellenberg worked quite intensively locally to supply some equipment, and then the interest dried up a little bit, and I think they made a really good decision to share that with you guys so that more people could access that gear.
Yeah, we need to kickstart that back up. It's just a matter of timing. We've got all the chairs. We've got the CCAN Parkinson Rec Center here in Kelowna. The city of Kelowna has donated that, so that's great. It'd actually almost be more useful to store hand cycles in at this point, but it's available.
Awesome. Now, did you want to show your cool video that Chels did, or?
Oh, sure. I got the shorter one, not the 10-minute one, so I'll do the little 3-minute guy.
Okay, that's perfect.
I don't know how to do this. Share?
Yeah, share. Do you have it open on your computer already?
Hi.
Yes. Can I just...
Okay. I bet you are.
Kim, I'm muting you because we can hear your voice.
Can you see that?
You gotta share it and then click on it after you click on share. So it should give you an option. Of what screen to... James, you look frozen. Oh, there we go. Coming.
Because there's so few of us out there. I mean, when you think about spinal cord injury, there's around 85,000 in Canada. And when you group together the other physical and cognitive and intellectual disabilities, we are a minority. So it's really challenging to learn how to best do things on your own because there's not tons of people around you doing it. So when you get involved with peer support, the main benefit for me is just being able to see how other individuals do the things that I want to do, and with such different ways of doing it.
After an injury or anything, it's easy to sit at home and not do anything. I was thinking, why me? Like, why this happened to me? I didn't really consider all the things that happen to other people. So to get out of your comfort zone and talk to everyone and meet new people, it's huge for growing in life.
For me personally, is connection and the shared experience of being in a chair, both good and bad. I don't think I would be as comfortable as I am in my chair and where I am with my injuries if it weren't for the peer support that I've received.
A good reminder for us that there's just lots of good things to do out there, right? There's like life's happening.
Well, everybody brings something different to the table, and doesn't matter what you bring to the table, we all have a commonality with our chairs. It's kind of neat to see how people with different backgrounds can have such commonality without having to know each other for years.
It's just good to be able to push yourself a little bit further and be able to get out into an environment that is definitely not your home or not a comfortable environment. You have to innovate and figure out techniques and ways of being able to overcome some of the just daily things that we need to do.
They put you in your place. They don't let you they don't let you get away with much.
I don't know how to shut this down.
Now you just have to click stop share. It'd be at the top of your screen usually.
Is that video on YouTube or anything like that?
I think that one is on. I think it is actually.
Would you also have maybe just like the name of it so we can take a look? It was skipping a little bit for me. I don't know whether it was skipping for other people too.
Yeah, it was a bit. There you go, James. You got it.
Awesome. Okay. Let me
yeah, it was a bit choppy for sure.
I'm sure.
It's just internet slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a link to it, James, then maybe I can send it out to everybody. I don't know. Now he's on mute. And we can't see his face.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll try and find it here. I can't remember if it's on. I know it's on FaceCrack, but.
Exactly, yeah. Well, we can always send out the link to FaceCrack too, right?
We can always do it at the end too, through email or something like that.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Thank you, James. Josh, do you want to lead the way, since just in case you can't stay for the whole time? Next.
Yeah, I don't know that I necessarily want to follow in them boots or the wheels that James left behind. But I would comment how great it is to have a resource like that, an additional resource to the community that serves such great depth of programming and has done such a great job of establishing a great place for peers to be peers. And just listening to one of the comments that came off that video, I think it was Anna, was just saying, like, we don't get away with much, right? They keep us in check. And I think that's just such an important and healthy attribute of a community and a group. So hats off to you, James. and the work that you guys do there. As a peer mentor with Spinal Cord Injury BC, I technically serve the Kootenay region and do a little bit of work in Kamloops as well. Kamloops, we provide a bi-monthly coffee group. One of them is hosted by Tyler Tingle, and then the other one I come in and host once a month. It's mostly a logistics thing, given that I'm based in Vernon and Kamloops is an hour and a half away. It doesn't make a ton of sense for me to go twice a month. Kamloops itself is quite a self-sustained community in terms of having a really good variety of resources under the umbrella of Kootenay Adaptive, amongst a few other agencies that really champion adaptive sport. This winter, CASA had offered a full season of sledge hockey. As well, they have basketball and rugby as a regular in the community. The Kootenays, which is where I spend a bunch of my time and my energy, has much less infrastructure in place currently. It's almost like the forgotten region, or one of the forgotten regions in BC. And again, the challenge is proximity, given how vast that network is and how few people have identified as persons with spinal cord injury in that region. It's made it a bit tougher to justify sending support out, but we are doing our best to create new opportunities in those regions and tapping into other networks that are there, kind of the way that we would in the Okanagan, leaning into things like Chris Adaptive and Accessible Okanagan. Terry, you asked a question, what are we looking forward to? And one of our big camps that we're gearing up for in the Kootenays will be hosted in conjunction with Kootenay Adaptive in a community called New Denver, population 450, so watch out, big city living. New Denver and the cusp is really, well, Kootenay Adaptive, I should say, is really gearing themselves and focusing on becoming the accessible hub for adaptive mountain biking as well. We would be offering different things like paddleboarding and yoga. The camp that we're hosting, and we have a couple of spots left if you're interested, is between July 5th and 9th. And the focus of this camp is around adaptive mountain bike. And we will be taking advantage of some of the equipment that we have in-house that's available for people to use if they don't own the equipment. And there is a network of trails at Mount Abriel as well as in Rosebery that are specifically designed for adaptive bikes, which is great. So that means the trails are a little bit wider. They're graded with less drainage so that you don't have that three-wheel tip-over scenario. And a good crew of people to help shuttle up and down some of these trails for those that do need it. And by those, I mean those trails that are too steep to climb without some sort of assistance. So this camp is open to anybody and any ability that wanted to come and rough it. So the camps that we aim to provide in the Kootenays are a little more hardy in the sense that we encourage everybody to camp or tent. We do have volunteers that support with all the meal prep and things like that, but for the most part, it's about getting dirty and getting after it with all your friends. So the camp again is July 5th to 9th, but the bulk of activity is 6 to 8, where we'll be offering again paddleboard, yoga, hot springs, and centered all around mountain biking. You can expect and anticipate more activities to be offered in this particular hub of Nakusp, New Denver, Revelstoke, as there's a huge collection of volunteers that are right behind this project. And the nonprofit Kootenay Adaptive Sport Association is thriving right now with a solid staff of people that are really driving these initiatives home and creating more opportunities. And when I say more opportunities, that would be a greater network of trail systems and more bikes to loan people who come to visit the area to ride. That's a nutshell of the central Kootenay region. The West Kootenays and East Kootenays, what we've been focusing on is creating like lighthouses. So certain peers that we've identified to be leaders in the community to deliver some SCI-based initiatives and also to be a kind of like facilitate monthly coffee groups in Vermeer and Rosslyn, so that those regions can also have at least some point of contact to Spinal Cord Injury BC to become more aware of the resources that are available through InfoLine and some of the other projects that we have. So with that said, we are fairly new to entering the region of the Kootenays. We're doing the best that we can with the resources that we have, and are very open to any suggestions or feedback that people in the region may have in terms of what's missing or what could be added. And furthermore, I would stretch that out across the province for anybody who's not an urban center to provide any recommendations on how to best serve a wide region or demographic with a limited budget. That's what we're working with, and we're doing the best that we got.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kind of covers it, Terry. I don't really know what else I can add to that conversation other than being open for any questions.
Awesome. Well, I was just thinking, like, both for you and James, like, I know James well enough to say, you know, I think a lot of the events that he kind of puts on and is interested in are things that personally touch him, and that he sees that it fills a need within his community. And I think the same for you, but you didn't talk too much about yoga, which I know that you're super into right now. And there's a few peers we know in the community that are really into yoga. So maybe you want to talk about that.
That's a great connection between the two stories, and I appreciate you bringing up a big part of what I can speak to. So like James, I do focus on activities that I'm passionate about and have experience to deliver. So mountain biking being one of them. I do offer some ski experiences in the wintertime as well, but it's not a primary focus. And the addition of yoga is something that, if we take a step back, I was introduced to yoga about 15 years ago through my partner, and it was strictly just a cross-training activity that I could do while I was chasing down the dream to be a professional athlete. And it was just cross-training, just physical, no more. And a couple of years ago, sustained a few more injuries to my low back, which caused me a lot of discomfort. So I got more and more interested in yoga as a therapeutic activity to bring a little more balance into my life. About a year ago, I took my yoga teacher training so that I would be qualified to share what I've learned in adaptive yoga. And my goal now, my objective is to be able to deliver that in a casual way to any group. So sometimes there's standalone programs that we offer through Spinal Cord Injury BC. We did a series of workshops through the spring in Kelowna at the University BC, UBC Okanagan. We've provided we did a wellness retreat in Merritt about a month ago at the Abilitas Ranch, and that was a specific health and wellness initiative or camp, if you will, where we had 30 people come out for 3 days and fill up this incredible lodge. And then the whole focus was around health and well-being. So we offered things like yoga, go figure, meditation. We did art therapy. We did nutritional based classes. We had equine therapy. We had some trail riders, and we had some mountain bikes. So a person was able to pick and choose from 2 to 3 activities a day. And they were also welcome to do nothing. If what they needed was nothing other than quiet in that environment, we welcome that as much as we encourage them to do yoga each day or trail ride each day or whatever it may be. So for me, yoga has provided an opportunity to center myself both physically, emotionally, mentally. And it's so weird to talk about. I make fun of yoga. I make fun of hippies all the time, like a bit of a redneck myself. But what I can say is that finding time, creating time to be still and reconnect with my body has moved me from a position of being a prisoner in a body that's paralyzed to being in a place of curiosity. It's woken up a bunch of different things within my mind, within my heart, and within my body that I thought I had lost prior to my injury. And again, yoga could be looked at in many different ways. It was a really good physical cross trainer for me for a period of time, and it was perfectly suited to that. Now I'm just using it as a way to calm some anxiety, some stresses, and also the loss of identity that came with leaving sport as my identity for 25 years and just sinking into what it's like to live with a spinal cord injury. For those of you that know my story, I've been living with an SCI for 15 years, and it's only been really presenting itself as a challenge since I've left my sport, which I identified with prior to my injury. Long-winded. Last thing I want to do is say yoga will save your life, because who knows what it's going to do. But it's had a really deep impact on me, and that is why I'm so passionate about just creating open opportunities for people to be curious and drop in if they want to.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's really, I'm actually kind of inspired to maybe do a virtual peer with you on yoga one day.
Let's do it. That's actually one of my objectives is, as I develop more experience as a teacher over the next few years, I would like to create a catalog of clips or things like that that can live online. So that a person doesn't need to be near a geographic center where yoga is being offered, or they don't need to forage their own path from the very beginnings of a program or of a practice, and they'll at least have some good jump off points to be curious within their own bodies. And a jump off point, if anybody is interested right now, is checking out Mind Body Solutions. They're based out of Minnesota. They've got a good bunch of resources online, and their primary teacher is a fellow by the name of Matthew Sanford. And he's been living with spinal cord injury for over 40 years, and he's been teaching for over 25. And he's well respected amongst the community of yogis, period. And he's one of the few yogis that teaches specifically with spinal cord injury or adaptation in mind.
You should get in touch with Mary Jo as well if you want to do one on yoga, because she's got quite a bit of knowledge with spinal cord injury and doing yoga and adapting what needs to be adapted to be able to do this.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I think anybody should reach out to Mary Jo for sure. And she was one of my mentors, and she's the one who directed me to the Iyengar style teacher training that I went to. So it was her guidance that allowed me to find the right teacher training for me to adapt yoga and teaching myself. She's right there with Matt, if not even more experienced in that sense. Great recommendation. Thanks, Olivia, and nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
Kim, I think, has a question.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you, Josh, for that information. And by the way, I can imagine how difficult it must be going from such a high that you were on. I did see you on the Ellen Show, so congratulations for making it there, and going from such a high to now. What is my place in the world now? And I think that I'm a quad. I'm a I guess about a C6 quad, and I met a group of people at the Blessing Building here in Vancouver. And we were in a class. It was great. It was something like what we're doing today, only it was a physical meeting in person. There were a number of peers who showed up from all over, mostly Metro Vancouver again, of course. But there was a large group of people, and 3 of us who were in a yoga class, and Mary Jo was presenting. We said, why can't we get a yoga class in Surrey? Or for that fact, why can't any of us get a yoga class closer to home, wherever you live in your community? So a few of us took that on, and as a result, we have a yoga class, which is probably about 10 minutes from my house tonight, but I won't be able to make it because I seem to be writing lots of letters related to the barrier. Well, it started out as a yoga class. I guess what I'm getting at is now we not only did we get the yoga class, but this group of people that we've come together with are also looking at not just the barriers that we face, financial, mobility, and otherwise, to get just basically to do things in life, is also other barriers such as transportation, home support, that kind of thing. So our group is a bit unique in that way, that we've also taken on other barriers that affect, I guess, people with all disabilities, actually. The people with all disabilities, I guess, just really live an inclusive life in their local community where they don't have to travel. So I really don't know what my question was, but I think it had something to do with the yoga. But what I wanted to say is I noticed that with the communities that you're dealing with in the more rural areas, one of the things I've noticed is that you folks actually have an easier time getting funding for your events. It seems that you do, and I'm thinking it's because you have closer connections. There's a bigger sense of community there. Whereas with our group, we do partner with other groups such as SCIBC, the City of Surrey, the CP Association, just about any group that has anything to, for Canson Foundation, just about any group that has anything to do disability related, but there isn't a lot of funding there for people. So that seems to be a bit of a barrier as well. But one of the things that we did get that's going through, I think in September, is a reduction in people with disabilities, what it cost, the cost to go to community local recreation centers, and just encourage everyone to try that, because $6 a day for a drop-in fee at a local community center can be a lot of money for someone living off $1,100 a month. And you know, even that changed. Sorry, I wished I was, you know what, I did go and brush my hair. I wished I was actually, you guys could see me, but I'm looking at Josh and I'm saying, well, if you didn't brush your hair, then, and there you are, Olivia. I met you up at Blossom recently. It's Kim.
Yeah, I know. I remember you.
That's why I'm wishing I could show you guys a picture of me, but I didn't go back to go on audio. But I guess what I was saying was yeah, I mean, just partnering with other groups really, really helps get people. And then once you get new members, they can tap into their resources as well. So that's where we're at. And it's interesting. One of the things that we do with our group, we were talking about getting people to come out, is even the date and time isn't exactly what would be my perfect date and time, but what we do once in a while is we ask people what date and time would work for you. A lot of it is just asking people what they want to do, and what date and time and what works for you. And the other thing that I'm finding you probably notice there's certain peers in different communities who seem to be leaders in different ways. And that there's some in Cranbrook, by the way, Josh. I know a couple that maybe we can get you in touch with. Are you in touch with Gary Reed or Kim Karif by chance?
Not currently, no, but I'd love to make that connection with you, Kim.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find either one of them, because I went through rehab with them. And anyways, one was a former employee of SCIBC as well. So there are community leaders, and that's what I find that really is effective, is reaching out to community leaders, because I live in Surrey, and thank you SCIBC for referring Cheryl and letting her know about us, because it was interesting when you meet with people who are new to the system, you find out just how much information they either do know or don't know. And with peers, we can really network and share all of that information. What was I going to say? Sorry, I kind of forgot my thoughts, but one of the things is when we find leaders, like Cheryl just came to our group recently, the last one, and it was great. So right away we said, we're going to put you to work, because there's people who really want something and meaning in life as well. And it's, get people going and doing something. So I would just say a lot of it is just engaging the people you work with well, obviously you do that, helping people to help themselves to whatever degree they can. And that's how our program seems to have really grown, from 3 people to about, I don't know, is there about 40 people in our group now, Marnie? There's about 40 people.
Yeah, and I wonder, I don't know if James or Josh wants to speak on this, but James was talking earlier about his partnerships with other organizations. For sure, that's what he does. And maybe in smaller communities, they don't see it as such a large population like we have here in Vancouver, so it's not so maybe overwhelming when it comes to funding things. Obviously, things are a little bit differently priced here compared to maybe in where are you doing your thing, Josh? New Denver. So
Vancouver, yeah. So we face different challenges. Yeah, food costs are actually comparable with an urban center due to its remote location. Accessible
Interesting.
transportation doesn't exist. Never mind, there's always challenges with accessible transport, but it just simply does not exist.
Yeah.
The baseline. Kim, you bring up a ton of great points, and I wanted to thank you for that, and also for your self-sacrifice, which is like one of the fundamentals of yoga. You're giving up your personal practice tonight in order to continue to write letters to remove barriers for other people. So just a reminder that yoga is all different forms of service, not just connecting with your body. So in a lot of ways, you're living that right now, Kim, which is super cool. And the small town, that was good perspective as well for me to appreciate, and just reaffirm that it's a lot is about who you know, not what you know. And in the sense, in the small community, there might be a lot more personal connections in order to get the support that you need to deliver some of these programs. And we for sure do rely on that. And it was a humbling reminder of how challenging it can be in a larger center, even though you've got more coffers to approach. They also have many more people that are knocking on their door. So good reminders and some good insights there. And obviously a bunch of work to remove some of the additional barriers that get in the way from rural to urban, to just creating the accessibility we need to access these programs in one way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks. One thing I didn't ask both you and James is, as far as like the activity goes, and I don't see James on, oh no, James is there, is about higher level injuries. Like right now on this call, we're all fairly mobile, right? So can someone with a higher level injury, say like a ventilated quad, come to some of your activities that you do? And can it be the same experience for them? Do you have the capability of being able to help them out?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like for the camping event that we had, fishing and camping event down in Soyuz a couple weeks ago, we had a couple high-level quads with chin control, sip and puff. It's not necessarily like, as much as we would like to, try and figure out for next year ways for them to actually have use a rod through different adaptive mechanics, which can be done. They're out there. It's just like, now we know that people want to come down and join in on that. It's more about the camaraderie. It's more about just the participation and coming down and enjoying, having, hanging out with everybody, enjoying their time, maybe sitting by, not too close to a fire, but by a fire, and, just chilling out and relaxing, just enjoying it. So, and I'm sure that, Jeff would agree with that. A lot of times it's just a matter of hanging out with a group. Doesn't matter what your disability is or level of injury is.
Yeah, totally.
Well, it depends on the location. For example, this camp that we hosted in Merritt, or the wellness retreat at the Abilitas Ranch, there was equipment there that would allow all participants to actively engage in all the activities that we provided. So that was amazing that that type of environment was available, and that's something that we have access to once a year at that nonprofit rate, which is what allows us to provide that camp so cost effectively.
Awesome.
The camp in New Denver will be open for all, but like James says, there might be more of a camaraderie aspect to some of the physical activities until we can figure out some of the mechanics to bridge some of those barriers for all participants. I always encourage people just to come out and be in nature. And here's the hippie in me coming out: let nature do the work. And it's like when we're doing adapted yoga, let yoga do the work. I do my best not to get in the way with words or actions, and I let the environments that we create and the experiences that we're facilitating do the work itself. And James is right. Like it's like it is about getting close, but not too close to the campfire, and being a part of that community and contributing in your own ways. And I think as we grow and evolve, we're always paying attention to how can we remove any of the existing barriers that are still in place, because there are many, especially when we're talking about natural environments and activities where people have varying degrees of mobility, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you, guys. That's one thing that when I was in Sweden, I must admit, I was really proud that we did here in BC was so very inclusive, I feel. Anyways, and I felt less so when I was over there, but I did only go to a couple facilities. But all right, Karen, let's hear what you're doing on the island.
Yeah, so I'm not really affiliated with anyone, so I can only share really what I've like possibly participated in, and then maybe comment on some of the things James and Josh had talked about. But again, after listening to those two talk, I think I need to move to the interior. But so, and I guess the first comment, I'm going to go back on a few things, but the first comment I have is like, I've noticed everything has been physical that everyone has mentioned, and the programs that they are going to or providing or passionate about. So I guess it would be interesting, and I'd like to hear some feedback on other things. What about the creative aspect? Now I know yoga can be creative, and probably the most easy thing for all abilities. But I was just wondering if any groups, like other than coffee groups, getting together to have coffee, like did things like paint nights or museums, hitting the museum. But again, in Victoria, we're pretty physically based for sports. And we kind of like you, I think all you guys, and like James had talked about, we've got tennis, we've got rugby, we've got basketball. A few people, we used to have hand cycling. That group's kind of split up a bit. But I'm also encouraged and exciting to hear how we can get some mountain biking over here. I know that's new and upcoming, and yoga, so that would be good. Again, we have sledge hockey programs over here, kind of participated in all of these. We do have fishing throughout the summer. We have an accessible fishing dock here, which is pretty cool. They throw a kayaking event at least twice, a couple weekends. Yeah, but again, I'm just listening, and I know Terry, one of your other groups I sat in on, there was a lady that just spoke up and just said, hey, like, I don't want to be physical. And it really got me thinking about maybe, other locations and whatever, like what can you do then that is not so physical?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. I mean,
we have a sport,
we're all getting older with a few aches and pains there, so we're all looking forward to something maybe not so physical.
Yeah. I mean, we do paint nights and stuff over here.
Do you? Okay.
We have done some paint nights. And I heard that there's like a writing group starting through, I think, Citizens for Accessible Neighbor. Someone texted me, Nancy Lear from BCITS. She messaged me, and she wants to start like a virtual writing group, things like that, right? She's high level quad, so she wants to get together with more like sip and puff quads who are interested in writing.
Or just anyone who wants to be creative instead.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or I think we, a lot of us would like to do both, to be honest. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, not really affiliated with anything. We have SCI, like we have a Victoria based. I find what they offer is very limited, like and a bit frustrating, to be honest. Yes, we have a monthly coffee group, and they do throw the fishing on. I've got the kayak email, but other than that, quite limited. So I'm quite excited to hear what's going on in the interior, like weekends away or, trying different things. And I am quite interested also you know, we're talking about it. I mean, you don't know what you need till you run the weekend, but just making sure that quads can participate. I am a quad, so, you know, it's always great and fun until you get there, and then you can't participate, especially when you want to be physical. So there's that part of it. But
awesome.
yeah.
What do you do? What do you do now, Karen?
Yeah, so I'm kind of like Josh. I was in sport for about 15 years and retired, and so I'm just now trying to find other things also. And so I've got into kayaking. Kind of can do it almost on my own. Just got some ocean-worthy blow-up kayaks that I can throw up in the back of my vehicle and bring to wherever I want to go. So Elk Lake here, Victoria, a little farther up island, going to Mill Bay. Again, for me, I just want to explore the island a little more this summer. What else? I am going to attend the fishing, so I'm going to try this fishing thing and see how that goes, to be honest. What else? Mountain biking. I have to say I'm getting quite curious about the mountain biking, and there's some doing a little research. If anybody has information, would be good, but there looks like there's some good e-assist bikes that are quite quad friendly out there, so that's quite exciting.
Yeah, Olivia can talk about that.
Yeah, so a
little bit.
Like to see and might pursue that a little more to see what our trails are like over here and see if I can contribute or get that maybe going, because I know like Brad Hartley just got one, Gene Way's looking to get one, like all this, you know, like I said, when getting a little older and changing sports, it's changing activity and stuff. So there's that. Doing a lot of vineyard tours lately, and that's been fun. So I have to say, up island, in the valley. So that's just checking out the valley a little more. And then I haven't really went farther. So that's my mission this summer, is to head up a little farther there. Courtney Comox, I like to check them out. I heard they have good trails. Yeah, so just do a little more island exploring. But really, for me, it's just gone from cycling to kayaking this year, I guess, and maybe trying the odd other activity. But I am just very interested, Josh, in it'd be nice to get something over here, or if you do your virtual whatever for the yoga, really great to get going over here.
Kim, I'll chime in a little bit. I would gladly be a resource to you for any questions that you may have yoga, and we might be able to do something online. Yet I would suggest that in person is always more suitable to have that contact. Not impossible, but fair to say that I've never provided an online class, but I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you and get a dialogue going.
Okay.
With Adaptive Mountain Bike, one of our peer mentors based in Nanaimo, Jocelyn Maffin, is quite to mountain biking, and she just purchased her own. So she's on fire for the activity, and she might have more insights to equipment and trails based in and around the Nanaimo area.
Great.
I am super passionate about this. I think that goes without saying, and plan to be doing some of my own personal travels around the province with the bike. So when I'm on the island next, my target is Cumberland to go check it out.
Yep.
And when I do go there, I'll let you know what the plan is when I have a plan to be on the island.
Awesome.
And the work that we're doing with Kootenay Adaptive is to create more infrastructure, resources, and knowledge around adaptive mountain biking for the community at large. Not just the Kootenays, not just BC, but thinking a larger scale picture, and tapping into some of the expertise and knowledge that our group has in terms of developing these pathways to make the sport more accessible for more people for generations to come. So more to come on all of that is what I'm trying to say, but Jocelyn will be your key person on the island for the time being, and I am more than happy to be a resource for the conversation around yoga to get you going.
Okay, I might just contact you after this, and I'll get her information and contact from you. That'd be great.
She's my boss.
Oh, awesome. You can get it from you.
I mean, she's a para, but she does have and Liv, after Kim's question, or Kim has something to say, so I'll let Kim talk, but Olivia's in Whistler and has that experience in Whistler, so she can probably talk from a quad perspective. She has the same level as you and me.
Perfect. Yeah, I think
Kim,
it'd be good to have a quad.
Exactly.
Get a quad perspective and get a quad involved in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kim, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, as far as the yoga class goes, it's great that the peers are working with peers, but I feel very strongly that it should be more mainstream. There's no reason why we shouldn't have adapted yoga in our local community centers. What we did, it's just because you were wondering how to get that going in Victoria or some ideas. What we did is it was hard. It takes a small group of people initially to just keep going to the whatever it is that you want. Whether it's yoga or something else, it takes a small group to show up, and then people notice that they're doing that. Talk to people. As Josh said, it's about building infrastructure, and from there, resources, etc. But the first part is just getting people to notice you and getting enough people. And I'm shocked, but we were showing up at the gym, about 3 or 4 of us, various gyms in Surrey, I would say for about 6 months. And I kept saying, well, how long is it going to take before we get somewhere with this? And it's a lot of work initially for the group that starts it. But once you get going and you make friends with people in not just your community, but at City Hall, I've learned a lot about politics and how the city operates, and they can become very good friends as well. So I just wanted to speak to how you might get people get involved in that, and then it starts opening other doors when you develop relationships with your own city and communities, opening doors to different, hopefully different activities that people can do. We have to be visible, and that's part of the problem, is a lot of us aren't visible. And with our South Fraser Active Living Group, how we define what we do is it's different. Being active is different for every person, right? It could be yoga, it could be skiing, it could be mountain climbing. What we always say, whatever it is that a person is comfortable doing. One of the things that I was really impressed, we have at least one higher quad in our group, and he seems to be the most active person, or becoming one of the most active people in our group. The other thing I noticed is when I was at Whistler with SCI BC a few years ago, I saw ventilator-dependent quad paddleboarding. So, in my life, I've noticed where there's a will, there's a way. And if you can get the right group of people behind you to help you, work with you, you can do almost anything.
I think what Whistler has too, it's got a really good adaptive program that like Chelsea Walker kind of built. So there's quite a few, there's each week we have a kayaking day, a rowing day, a canoe day, and a biking day. But it's a lot of people have more cognitive kind of disabilities rather than physical. And then it's the same thing in the winter. If you want to go, you can book yourself to go sit skiing and stuff like that. But then we have a day where we go cross country skiing, and then a day where there's swimming as well. But again, I think I'm kind of the only one that has the physical disability rather than the mental disability that's always there. But the adaptive program is amazing. So I got really lucky to be up here after my injury.
Ebby has a question too. Ebby, go ahead.
I have a question about using the city's facility, having card 1 and the one I'm in Vancouver, and I was told that I can use for the card 1, I can use it for swimming pool, not for the gym, which I'm interested to use the gym. I lost so much muscles and I need to get them back to help for my well-being. And I suppose not to be. And also, I'm not encouraged to go just by myself. I want to go with my partner as a caregiver. And as far as I know, I was told I have to pay for the caregiver. And I'm looking for, I'm looking for the, if I can pay I can get the caregiver as a free of charge. That would be more encouraging to our budgets, and I don't know how to manage that.
Can you some advice?
Yeah,
on
I have something to say. Sorry, but yeah, I forget. I've met you once before. Sorry, I forget your name.
Abby.
Abby, yes, you've come out to I've seen you at some of the events as well. Abby, that's what we did in the city of Surrey. Really, it's not that hard to write. That's why I know I keep mentioning working with your city and community partners, but it's taking it to the next level. Sometimes using using words like I should be able to participate fully in my community, using the words, okay, inclusive is a buzzword now, so you can also say I shouldn't be excluded from attending a city event or building because of my disability. It should not be, it seems to me that it shouldn't take more than about a letter, at least starting with the, is there someone who's in your city who's involved with, I think the first place to start is the website for your city and look at what's available, and is there someone responsible for physical access? Now, some cities have subcommittees who are there for heritage, seniors, people with disabilities. Vancouver has one, Surrey has one, and Amit and myself on behalf of South Fraser Active Living are on the City of Surrey's group. So that's another direct channel to bring up these kind of concerns. But honestly, Abby, I think it just takes a letter. Just saying that you feel excluded because of X, Y, Z. You can write it to your local newspaper. It wouldn't be that hard, I don't think.
Hey Kim, do you have like a sample of how you guys got started that you could maybe send me and I can pass on to Abby? Or
that's what I'm going through in my head. I've got sample templates for home support. I can look through stuff. Marnie's there too. I mean, we've got a Google account with a whole bunch of templates. There's so, you know what I mean? Like there's 1,000 of emails.
Yeah, maybe if you guys can have a look at that, and if you see anything, and if,
Can I ask, you mentioned about a couple of keywords. One of them was inclusive. Was the other one the first word you said?
Well, most people know that we want to be fully included in our community. So if you use that word and say that I'm excluded from participating in XYZ event because I need help, a support person, I'm almost going to guarantee that someone will help you with that at the community center or the city. You just have to write the letter to the right person. That's the key, is writing the letter to the right person, because everybody gets emails, right? Or maybe I would say the idea is to go in person. That was the key. What we did was we went in person in the beginning.
Yeah, once when I was in person, it's my character that the staff were so rude to me. One of the staff, and it was a huge turn off to me. And I was sitting and I was shivering and I was so discouraged and mad. I was just going to explode, and I was controlling myself. There was one of the, I think he was one of the manager. I got his card, but I don't know where did I leave it. And he came and he found out that I'm not in the right state. He sat with me. He started to have a conversation and asked me what's going on. And I told him that what happened, that they have someone in the front line that on the what do you call it, on the admission, and
customer support.
Yeah, customer service. It was the front line, and you can turn off a person like that. One of my problem is my disability is invisible. while I have a lot of problem, I live in pain, but no one can see it. I'm not on wheelchair. And that causes me another side of the problem, that they cannot see it.
Right.
But what you brought it up, finding right person and writing a letter, and if they don't, I have to get to the next level. That was an excellent advice to me. Thank you so much
I
for
think
bringing that.
also I know with me, like I know the Whistler Community Services, so it's a kind of like a bunch of people that are there to like help facilitate certain activities for people that are not able to do it. Like, and they also maybe getting in touch with, like, it's like a community kind of helper, and maybe getting in touch with them. I don't know if you have something in your community that's like that, but they can help facilitate those barriers that you have as well. Like they're there to kind of help anybody be able to participate in whatever they want to participate in.
What kind of people or group are they are?
It's for us. It's the Whistler Community Services, and they help. I know they have like the food bank kind of thing going on.
Oh, okay.
They
The
got
community
like
service.
adapted counts. Like they got like subsidized like counseling and like other things like that. It's just like a community. Something that the Whistler community has, but I'm sure it's
Okay.
it's everywhere. And there's
Yes, we have.
Vancouver, and
Yes, we have
so
one
I'm sure
close
getting in
to.
touch with them would be what they would help you kind of. They're just going to help facilitate something like that.
Okay, great idea.
They have
Thank
the
you so much.
resources too.
Yeah. That was a great idea too. It's because we have a community center close to us. It's a Little Mountain. That's called Little Mountain Neighborhood House. I can ask them to write a letter, helping me to writing the letter. That would be great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Mm-hmm. Well, Olivia, why don't you take it away and talk about what's happening in Whistler?
So up here, I guess we're just very fortunate to have this Whistler Adaptive Group. Like Chelsea Walker is the one who started it, I think like 20 years ago. And it's just providing possibilities for anybody to be able to participate in activities, basically. I don't know if they do like really super high level quads. They can accommodate super high level quad things like that. Like, but I know that it's like for me, like that's what's been kind of helping me. And normally, what they do in the summer, like we have each day there's certain activities that happen, and it's always kind of like the same on the same days. So like kayaking will be on Mondays, and then on Wednesdays there's mountain biking, and then Thursdays is rowing and canoeing. And you basically show up at the location that you're supposed to meet up, and then they kind of get you into the kayak or get you on the bikes, and away you go. And then it's the same thing in the winter. Like they'll have, I think it's on Thursdays, they only have like cross country skiing, and Mondays I think they have swimming. And again, like you show up at the location, and there's volunteers there that help you get where you need to get to be able to participate in those activities.
And is that weekly, Olivia?
Yeah, it is weekly.
Wow, that's great.
So normally, like I guess like at the end of the week, the person who's running all those groups, like is sending you an email, and then you sign up which one you want to which things you want to participate in, and then they kind of gauge from there how many people they're going to need, and yeah, whether it's going to be running and stuff like that.
So can it be a drop-in? Like if you wanted to drive up to Whistler and drop in one of these things, you could? Or do you have to be part of a group?
I'm sure you could. Like, I mean, like, I'm sure if you got in touch with the Whistler Adaptive Group, you could be like, oh, I'm going to be here from this date to this date, and I would like to. So I'm sure they would be. I mean, like, I have the contact, like Danielle's contact, who normally like is the organizer for all this. So like, I'm happy to share that contact, and then whenever you guys are coming up or you want to try to participate in something, then yeah, you can get in touch with Whistler Adaptive that way.
Sounds great. Thank you.
We've actually taken people up there and booked with Whistler Adaptive, and that's totally doable. So no worries.
Okay, great.
And oh, hold on, shoot. Sorry. I was sending Ebby an email trying to multitask that wasn't really working for me very well there. Ebby, I'm just sending you some information from Marnie too on that. She found a link for you. So, and Josh.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and Josh is gone, so I didn't see that either. Yeah, anyways, thank you, Olivia. What are you into right now?
Me?
Yes. I mean, you do it all, but
I don't do it all, but I like the kayaking. I haven't really gone this year yet. I actually had like my brother's fiance's bachelorette this weekend, and I was supposed to, like, I borrowed the kayak from Whistler Adaptive to go sea kayaking, but it was like super, super windy, so we actually didn't end up going on the water. But I really like kayaking. There's also rowing that's happening on Thursdays, like early in the morning, and I'd love to try that out. I've also done the biking a few times, and I really like the mountain biking as well. And then I had a carried, actually, like, I guess like Whistler's very transient, so we have a lot of people from a little bit everywhere. So every single time I want to, like, I'm on the Cecil program, so every single time I need a caregiver or somebody leaves. And anyways, I had one of the girls that was working for me that was actually like a sports therapist back home, and she did like her master's in like adaptive sports therapy. So it was really cool because I always had somebody to go cross country skiing with, or she brought me to the pool a few times too, to be able to access the pool with my situation and stuff. And we've done quite a bit of mountain biking as well. So she was kind of like in touch with the Whistler Adaptive group as well. So yeah.
Awesome.
And then I really got into cross country skiing last winter. And then I've been doing the like sit skiing for 3 years now, and really love that as well.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, cross country skiing was pretty awesome. I really don't like downhill. I get too cold, but I really enjoyed cross country when I did it up there.
Yeah,
Karen,
it was a cold day too when you guys came up.
Yeah. And Karen, when you're thinking about downhill mountain biking, a good opportunity might be to join us on our Whistler weekend. If you can join us, and then you can try it out for yourself.
And so it's got a good quad setup.
Yeah, Olivia's tried it, right?
No, not downhill.
Oh.
But I've done like the cross country mountain biking
on trails.
Yeah, it's got its barriers. Like, I guess the bike has like, you're kind of strapped into the steering wheel, and then the brakes just on the side. But I feel like there should be a brake on each side, because if you're trying to like make a left turn, it's really hard to hit the brake while you're trying to turn. So it'd be good to have the brake on the other side, so you're able to turn. But I mean, like, it's fun. It definitely works. The bike tends to tip a little bit too, like tip over if it's too slanted, or if you're on a hill and it's slanted, you can tip over. So that's another thing, that maybe putting like some camera in the wheels, or I don't know. Like, I would design the bike a bit differently if it was me.
Because it's a three-wheeler then?
It's a three-wheeler. Yeah, you have a wheel in the front and then two wheels in the back.
Okay.
Kind of more like a mountain bike, I guess. Like with assist.
Yeah.
So you can go over logs.
They're coming out with four-wheeled ones now to make them a little more stable, but
I know there's a guy, he's way low. I think his injuries L5, like Stacy Kohat, and he's been mountain biking in Whistler, downhill biking in Whistler for years. And he just kills it on the downhill bike, but he kind of designed his own bike to kind of do it. But I don't know, as a quad, if you'd be able to.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, maybe you have to design your own bike and make it happen. But it's like, downhill biking's pretty gnarly to begin with.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking of mountain biking or the trails, not.
Yeah.
No, yeah. But yeah, it's definitely doable. Like, I've done last year, I did the Sea to Sky Trail on the bike, which was kind of cool. There's just like the suspension. The only thing, like, they had to carry me up the suspension bridge and then like carry me back down, because there was stairs, but all the rest was doable. So that was really cool. Down to like the Brandywine Falls, and then like I haven't really gone for. I think you're on the road for a little bit of it too. So like I didn't go further than Brandywine, but we went down from Chickamus down to Brandywine, which was pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Brandy, do you want to take it away a little bit in the north? Tell us what's happening in the north.
Sorry, just unmute. Yeah, there we go. Well, I don't know, going lastly, you guys have already done it all, so. Well, I guess kind of more recent things. We just did a fishing thing here a couple weeks ago, and it was our first one. I mean, being in the north and, you know, smaller spread out communities certainly has its challenges, as we've discussed. Generally, any activities that we plan end up providing a whole lot more work and advocacy and fun stuff like that. So we did go, and you know, when we went there, the dock had boards missing and such, so had to talk to the city about getting that fixed, which they did. Kudos, they did. But then again, there was no edging or anything, and you know, so it's always a catch-22 when you do these things. You need to get out and try them and do them, but you know, sometimes it's not that easy because we don't necessarily have the facilities to just make them happen. But it's exciting when that starts. And yeah, so we just did a multi-sport day actually just this past weekend with Wheelchair Sports, and actually a huge number of community partners. I'll have to echo what others were saying. You know, collaboration is the only way to go. I mean, it's just super important, and you know, really helps to make sure that you're including everyone, you know, that might be interested, and you know, get the awareness out there. So that was exciting for us because there were some sports that have never been offered here, you know, and because of that event, the city put in some rails for the throw circles, and Wheelchair Sports actually left a chair here. So, and the club was really excited about that, and their coach now wants to take some training. So, you know, you never know where it's going to go. We actually just got word from the local water ski club, who are very keen on doing an adaptive water ski clinic up here, which is interesting. So they still haven't given me a date, and they're talking mid-July. So I'm not really sure what that's going to look like. You know, I'm a little skeptical, but I am planning, because I have tried for the last 3 years to go to the Kamloops one, and I am booked to come finally. Because I haven't done it yet. Although hearing about, you know, people breaking their legs water skiing makes us a little skeptical. Anyway, the big things for us, like our biggest events by far, are, you know, annual holiday event and annual summer barbecue. You know, there is food, they will come. That's definitely the kind of thing that people, you know, make it to, no matter what. We do offer, you know, a variety of things, some of which I would say are, you know, fueled by passion. Some of it not so much. Not my personal passion, I should say. You know, we have taken peers initiative in terms of what people wanted to see happen. And so some of them are definitely putting me out of my comfort zone. So, you know, it's only fair, you know, tit for tat. We kind of push people around, and they push us out of ours too. So that's always good. You know, Karen, you were commenting on a variety of events, and that's certainly something that we're very cognizant of, and it can be very difficult, you know, to make sure that there's a variety. You know, we did a cooking class. We actually do have an art, a paint night. It'll be our first time doing that. So we'll see how that turns out, and people are interested, because I think it is important to make sure that, you know, it's not super para kind of only you know, super sporty. You have to have a lot of function to participate. And, you know, when we do have events, it's always a balance. Sorry, I've lost names. Josh was saying, you know, transportation. When we host events in Terrace, for example, there is no transportation past 3 o'clock.
Wow.
Period. Like, there's no handy dart past 3. Like, it's pretty crazy, and it's really difficult in those communities. And there is no wheelchair taxi. It does not exist. So, you know, you're really coming up against a lot of barriers, and you know, some of which we tackle, and some of which we succeed, and some of which we're still tackling, and we're just banging our heads against the wall, and we'll continue tackling. So, you know, it can be tough for sure. In terms of like variety of events, you know, some of the things we've done, we did a helicopter tour. We've, you know, done paddle boarding, again, with partners like Access Revolution and stuff. We did whitewater rafting a few years. And for the record, everybody was included, and we had high quads doing that too. You know, so you can find ways to make it happen. Skydiving as well. High quads came and did that. So, you know, there's possibilities. We did scuba diving just in our local pool. Our lakes are way too cold. I wouldn't go in there. And I have to say that was interesting. We have done a lot of activities that, you know, I get a lot of flack from our head office about insurance and stuff like that. And scuba diving is actually what someone was injured doing, simply because we hadn't realized that their knees were dragging, and so they dragged their knee on the bottom of the pool. I know. And it was like, oh, man. I know. So you just have to be really careful. And, you know, whenever we're doing activities, I always take a deep breath afterwards, and I'm like, oh, nobody got hurt. Because you do want people to challenge themselves, and you do want people to come out, but you also want them to have fun. And it's never fun if they get hurt, right? So we did dog sledding, which again is really cool because anybody could do it. We didn't, when I say we went dog sledding, we didn't stand behind and, you know, mush. We sat in the nice, cozy, insulated covers and got to go for a ride, and it was really cool. And when I say cool, I mean it was cold. The day that we went was like really unseasonably cold, so there weren't a lot of us, but you know, it's hard to find funky activities to do in the winter, which we have a lot of. So it's just a matter of kind of trying different things. Target shooting is a popular one. I live in the north. We have a lot of rednecks. They do a lot of things like shooting guns. So that would be maybe not my cup of tea, but, you know, I've shot guns. Probably wouldn't have if I wasn't part of the peer group here. And, you know, it was a new experience for me. This year we've been working with Engage Sport North. They've been doing Try It sports and activities. So it's just an opportunity. It's free for anyone in the city to come and try different things. So our partnership was to provide like sport wheelchairs or adaptions whenever, you know, it was applicable. So things like pickleball or badminton, you know, would be totally inclusive and anybody could try. And we try to encourage just anybody to try it seated as well, just to see what it's like playing a different way. Some people have done it. Some people get really scared about wheelchairs. That's really funny. So that's been kind of fun. We also have sort of the sports stuff happening as well. This will be our second year doing sledge hockey. And we do have wheelchair rugby and wheelchair basketball as well. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, I think.
I love when people are like, that's kind of it. And it's kind of like,
a lot.
Especially you, Brandy. I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot.
I don't know. It's funny how you do that because you compare other things. And
Yeah.
whenever I hear other people, I'm like, oh, wow, we're not doing enough. And,
my God.
it's tough though. I mean, a lot of our activities are Prince George centric, and the North includes like everything from 100 Mile. It's half the province, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough. We have a peer volunteer in Quesnel who does a lot of stuff there, and one in Fort St. John. And they're awesome. They've been involved for a long time and are very active citizens in their communities. But for anybody in between, it is really difficult, and people are very, very isolated, and distance is huge. I mean, to go to Fort Nelson is a very long drive. So, we know the limitations, and it's tough. I would love to have more for people elsewhere, and to have more connections that way. But things like the virtual peer and stuff like that is a way for people to connect when you are in those isolated communities, because there isn't necessarily adapted or accessible programs or activities that are going to be available to you, right?
Totally, yeah. And that's kind of why this was created, in the first place, right? Was because, I think of, Maureen, you're in Williams Lake, so you're in a pretty small community, right? But a lot of us are people that are already getting out there and doing things, and probably would regardless. And I always feel like for our organization, it's those people that maybe aren't doing those things that it means the most for, right? So, yeah. Anyways,
what about curling? Is anybody like curling out there?
Oh yeah. Well,
groups?
before we start on curling, because I have a group here. Abby has a question. So, Abby, I think you muted yourself.
Yes, I was just writing a note for myself when I want to talk. I can remember everything. I'm wondering what takes to getting involved with the other communities' activities, such as to know the list of the activities that they have, or which one are available to the other people from the other communities to join them. And I was thinking about having a small affordable RV, which I never had a experience about it. I don't know how to find one, and especially when it's going to the inexpensive, but I don't want to get the bad one. It costs me a lot to repair or something. If there is any information that you can throw me in two things. I can consider there are two questions. One of them is about how to get involved with the other communities' activities, and also having an army.
I can kind of answer.
RV. Yeah.
I can help you answer that, Eddie. So number one, a good place to start is on our events calendar, because at least SCIBC has different communities.
Yep.
And you can at least contact them. Those staff coordinators will know what's happening in their area, like Brandy and Prince George, or James isn't with SCIBC, but he does a lot with us. So if you contacted Scott, who's in Kelowna, our coordinator there, he could put you in touch with James, right? And then as far as I know actually a guy in the Okanagan who has an accessible RV. I'm sure would be happy to give you any advice if you needed it. You don't really need, are you looking for something that's an accessible RV? Or are you looking to rent one? Or are you looking to buy one and then adapt it?
Yeah, I'm thinking I don't need any accessible. There's just a regular small RV that because a smaller one, they burn less gas, and they are small enough to find the parking, and also, yeah, and but I don't need to. I mean, I don't have ability to add something to this, or but something that's ready to go. And I appreciate if someone can advise me, as you mentioned, if there is any that you can connect me with.
Terry, I'm going to get going. It's Irene.
Oh, hi,
Thank you.
Irene.
Hi. I'm going to get going. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Irene.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
My iPad might give out on us. Well, I have like 5% left on my battery. So if I cut out,
it's okay. Okay.
What's
Do you know
happening?
why?
But I think in terms of the RV too, like it's just maybe finding somebody that's like a bit more of a mechanic, or yeah, it's just like finding. It's just like when you're buying anything, it's just like having somebody that kind of knows the product a little bit better to help you assess what you're buying. If we're buying something from Craigslist or something like that, like it's just trying to find someone that has the knowledge of
Definitely
of what product.
Yeah. Oh, did she die on us?
Oh, yeah, definitely what she was saying, I agree with. I was doing some reading on researching on the internet, and I find it purchasing an RV. I want to purchase one if it's possible, because my partner, she likes to doing RVing. That's her interest, and I want to please her. And when I was reading, I found out that having an RV is much different than the regular car, and someone that knows about the RV being able to get in and in the top of the RV and around it, below and everywhere, to check it out. There is no leak, there is no fungus, mold, or because if there is anything like that, it's not healthy at all. And it's going to affect your health, because you are going to stay there for a few days. So I have to be very careful. So as you mentioned, if there is anyone that you want to connect it with me, that would be fantastic.
Okay, that sounds good. Unfortunately, Olivia was asking about curling, and Marnie and Kim but Kim, you wanted to say something specifically.
Okay, so sorry, I just wrote a note to you, Terry. I don't know if you can see that in my chat. First of all, does everybody have time though? Because was the meeting supposed to go until 5?
5:30 is usually,
Okay.
it's usually 2 hours, but yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to check because I see we're losing a few people here and there. Ebby, one of the things that I can't stress enough, and I think everybody's been saying the same thing.
Yep.
Terry saying connect with this person, that person. We're all saying the same thing. Is what I found really helpful. And believe me, I'm fairly new at this. I've had an injury for many years, but I didn't know much about. I didn't have to be. I feel embarrassed to say this, even though I worked for was BCPA back then. I didn't get that involved. It was more of an. I don't know why. It was more of an academic exercise at that time, where it's become very peer focused now, which I think is great. It's back to the grassroots the way it should be. But what I would say is, for me, I was also in my house for about 10 years because I was afraid to leave, because I had a traumatic accident, and there was a lot of stuff that happened after that. It was meeting Marnie that helped me, meeting a peer. Once I met Marnie and felt comfortable with her, we started to go out to the gym and do other things. What I'm saying is, if you can partner up with someone. You live in North Van?
No, I live in Vancouver.
Oh, then there's lots of people you can partner up with. I find that if you partner up with someone, all of this gets a lot easier. And then once you've made that connection, then you start going to the various events, whether it's SCI, BC related or other. There's so many events. Then that's how you, number one, I found that really built my self-confidence. Number two, meaning and purpose in life. Number three, Olivia mentioned cognitive. Well, I'm not sure, Olivia, what you meant by that, but I mean, for me, there's mental illness and mental health. And in my case, it was PTSD. For some people, you know, just getting out and having a cup of coffee is a big deal. Or even just getting out of the house at all. And in my case, I went from being afraid to leave my house. I didn't drive my vehicle alone for about 10 years, to now driving all the way to Vancouver to the building. And it's all peer related.
Yeah.
For someone who didn't even leave their house for about 10 years, I was afraid of just about anything and everything. Now I've made connections through SCIBC to do research, to connected with Neil Squire to update my skills, using computers. You know, just one thing kind of leads to another as you get in the community.
I agree with you. I had the same problem more than 10 years, and I was in really bad pain. I was not able to get out of home, even though I was not able to walk. I was not able to, for my very basic need, I was crawling like baby until I received a walker, and it took me months to be able to use a walker, being able to walk for even 5 minutes. It was even 1 second I was able, I mean, 5 seconds when I started, 1 second, and after 1 week, a few weeks, 2 seconds being able to hold on to it was a huge thing for me. And in another case, that sometimes I may not look, I'm a shy person, but inside I'm a shy person. It takes some time for me to be courageous to get out. And when I start to get to know people, and the ice is broken, so I get better. And yeah, what you said, it touched me, and I appreciate that. And yeah, I still most of the time I'm at home, but I do a lot of other things, like community involved, but just for the involvement I go out, but the rest of the day not. But hopefully I'm waiting for my partner to join me, come back to Canada again, because for her PR to get that, and when she comes back, she's very encouraging to take me out. That make a difference. And so thank you so much for your help, for your talk.
Oh, thank you, Cam. Jeff has to go in 5 minutes, but I just want Jeff to chime in with his recent experiences. So if you have like 1 minute of your time, Jeff, before you have to go. You're on mute, though.
There, now I'm not. Ha ha ha. Darn. I went to Merritt for the spinal cord injury retreat, and Josh is a great yoga teacher. He really gets you down and takes you beyond your limits. I guess I ended up on the floor, not gracefully on the floor. And it was very encouraging, very freeing. Hadn't been out of my chair in 17 years on the floor without, being there for other reasons that we won't go into. But anyway, it was freeing, liberating, and just encouraging. He's very encouraging. Art therapy was a very good eye-opener for me. It was an hour and a half, 2-hour class on just meditation, and then going beyond your wildest dreams. I drew a barn that I knew in my childhood that I meditated about, and actually turned out, and I can't draw worth beans. So that was amazing. The massage was very good. I encourage anybody to come to Merritt. It was very freeing. The only thing that didn't work, and there was one turned to the whole event. The elevator broke down the first day.
Oh.
And so there was no elevator. So there was a grade like this that you'd have to go down to the bottom, to the basement, for all the different events and so on and so forth. But we made we made it through. I did it without a carry aid, and I would never do that again. It was too much work on my part. I was over my head. I didn't want anybody to know that. But by the time I got home, I was just exhausted. Trying to do everything and keep up with everybody. Wow. I mean, there was nobody that was brutal. Like, it was just like one big family. It was just incredible. It was relaxing, yet it wasn't too relaxing. It was, I did every event that you could do. But some people didn't. You didn't have to do anything that you didn't want to do.
That's awesome, Jeff. I think Abby has a question for you.
Sure.
Yeah. Hi, Jeff. I really appreciate what you brought it up and you shared with us. I admire your going out and 17 years of being at home. I mean, I share with you. I had the same problem. Anyway, what Jeff brought it up about the elevator inaccessibility. The place that I work, I have my radio show. It's a radio station that does not have a elevator, and I have a knee problem. I can walk on the ground, but I cannot. It is getting more difficult for me to go on the stairs. During more than 13 years that I work there, on the weekend I have a radio show that I have to go on air. It makes it more difficult and more difficult and difficult. And I talk to them, can we have an elevator? There is a space there. At the first day they were saying there is an elevator, you have to get the key. Now after 13 and a half years, they're saying that there is no elevator, it's just a space for it. And because the person, the constructor, am I right? The construction person that made this, they didn't put the elevator in, they should. They had a contract. And after 13 and a half years, a radio station cannot take that person to court. That is a question. Anyway, I was wondering, because I have a couple of people that they are on wheelchair. They are from South Asian community. The radio station that I'm talking about, it is from the South Asian community. With one of them, one of the person that I was talking about, about the radio station that I'm working there, and she raised her concern, said, we are not welcome to Red FM. And I said, why? And she said, because there is no elevator. How can I get there without the elevator? And I said, there is an elevator. She said, no, there is not. And I was asking the station, and I brought this, and there was another person, there was a gentleman from the South Asian community with on wheelchair, and he said the same thing. And I brought that to the concerns to the station. And another thing, that was one of the hosts was going up and down while he was on crutches because he had an accident, and it was months and months. I think it took a few years. And sometimes I was helping him to get up the stairs. And I had the fear in my mind that if there is no one to help him, and he's going down the stairs and he's going to fall, what's going to happen to him? I don't want to see his head being hit the ground. Anyway.
Our stuff, I'm just going to listen.
So just what happened, I brought all this concern to the station into many of the managers. No one wants to do anything. I was wondering, even though once their lawyer was teaching us about the things that I should not say in radio, the legal liabilities, I brought that to his attention. He said, this is not one of our things to consider, but and when I brought liability, some of the people, they nod that yes, it is the radio station liability. If something happened to someone because of that, they didn't pay attention. So the question is, what is your advice to this situation?
I think.
Oh, that's a long-winded question.
Yeah,
I'm going to be
sorry about
very, 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 very careful. What I say. I don't know how to answer that truthfully.
Okay, does anyone have any comments for Abby? I mean, at least BLC 81 is coming into play, so
Oh no, I'll transfer to Deb.
elevator. Cam, you're always good. You're not listening because I can hear you talking to your husband.
You're right.
It
Sorry.
almost sounds like a big can of worms.
I know it is.
I guess what I would say is they're being discriminatory. Would be my number one thought and concern. I guess if there was an elevator and it didn't work, that's another whole aspect of bringing it in. Like we had an elevator, but it was just not working.
Yeah, if you don't have an elevator, I don't know, especially if it's in a building that is older, you can't mandate them or lawfully tell them that they need to put in an elevator.
It is a brand new. It was made on year 2006. Between
That's
2005.
pretty old.
Yeah.
Is it pretty old?
That's pretty old in this day and age.
But it was, in that time, was new. But the space, they said, we see there is a space there. There is an entrance from two, and it's not it's 2 stories, a building, 2 levels.
I don't know. That's like a law thing, I think, that you would have to find out what the actual law is.
Yeah, we'd have to get a lawyer involved, I think.
I think maybe we could probably,
Or legal aid even.
let me try to connect you with Heather. Heather seems to, at her office, knows every answer on the planet.
I
Yeah.
was just about to recommend.
I gotta run. I'm sorry.
Contacting the info line.
Bye.
Thank you, Jeff.
Bye, Jeff.
Yeah, I would contact the info line and have that discussion, and they can probably direct you to some of the information on what the requirements are, so that you can be very clear about whether or not there's anything that you're able to pursue at this time.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but we are a bit behind on some things. I mean, the Canadian Accessibility Act just came in last Friday. So, it's going to be slow, but, hopefully it will help eventually to avoid some of these situations. But that's probably where I would start, just because they're going to be able to give you the rundown on, kind of fine print on what you can and can't pursue.
Brandy, are you talking about Heather herself?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I have her connection, so I'll take your advice, Brandy and Terry. So I will write to her.
Yeah, she knows everything, I swear. She's like
You said she knows everything?
She does. Doesn't it seem that way, that she'd pulls out things?
Yeah.
Actually, I have to admit, I take great pride in telling her about something new that she hasn't heard of.
I bet.
It doesn't happen often, so I'm like, hey, have you heard of this new program or this new thing? She's like, no. I'm like,
By the way, it happened. I did too. There was a concern. I brought it to her, and she gave me her advice. I was lucky. I was not. She didn't send me to the wrong direction. But what was it? There was a glitch that she didn't know about that, and I brought that to her to her attention, and she said, I didn't know about this. But she's very good. Mostly, I mean, 99%, she has accurate answer for the things. Yeah, thank you so much.
Crazy. Marnie, well, Kim has something to say, but I don't want to leave your guys' group out, and want to be able to share what you guys are doing out in your way too. But Kim, you wanted to add something, so keeping in mind there's 6 minutes left.
Yeah, there's only 6 minutes. Abby, what I would say is the world is not wheelchair accessible, and what we have to do is, break down those barriers one by one. And have you written a letter to whoever owns the building?
Not yet. I'm a little bit careful about just talking to them. I don't want, because I don't want to lose the job that I have. It is volunteering, but I don't want to lose it because it's a voice of the community that I'm doing the show. I want to keep I have to find a balance that does not affect the relationship. Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know your situation, but my experience is when we write letters and make ourselves visible, we actually become more powerful. Especially when we engage other people, we usually have more power to change things. And the way that I look at it, that kind of drives my work, is number one, people went before me to do this, so that's why the world's such a great place for me. And number two, it gives me purpose in life. And number three, like to help people. There's as far as a lot of the discounts, etc. go, I'm looking at people who can't afford to go, and it's not right.
Thank you for your advice.
I'll just be quite frank. In the spinal cord injury group, I find a lot of people have money, and then there's a lot of people who don't have money. And for people who are living off, I think PWD, for those living off PWD, that's about $1,100 a month. After rent and all the necessities in life, there just really isn't a lot left for recreation.
Definitely.
So that's one reason why we're also fighting that battle. It isn't, once I stepped out of my comfort zone and started doing this, it's like practice, because there's a part of me that would just like to come over there and do it for you and write the letters and that, but really it's about practice. I was talking to Marnie earlier about this.
Yep.
And when it comes to curling, I never have gone out curling if I didn't have a couple of peers with me. Marnie is a fantastic coach. And maybe on the other end, I'm the one who seems to write more letters in the group. So then we can look at skills that each person has and utilize those to help to all of us, the greater good.
That's a great idea.
And if you're on the radio show, that tells me that you have a community already listening to you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great, Kim. Thank you. Why don't you guys,
Marnie, talk about the curling stuff?
Yeah, why don't you guys talk about Olivia's iPad died, but I'm going to pass off your guys' information, if that's okay, about curling to her, so she can touch base with you. But why don't you talk about what your group is doing?
Sure. So, well, getting back to a little bit what Ebby had talked about earlier about the bringing an attendant with you to any of the rec centers, like every city in the Lower Mainland has a policy that you're allowed to bring an attendant for free. So he just has to make the right contacts there for sure. And the link, I sent a link to Terry to forward to you to do
wonderful.
it's called Adapted and Integrated Programs, the Vancouver Park Board. And it's really kind of neat because their website is really good. The City of Surrey website's really good. It has adapted programs, of course, but also adapted equipment that they have for their rec centers. They're all listed online now. So things are getting a little bit easier to see online, like without having to go to the actual rec center like Kim and I did to many, many rec centers to see what they had that we could use. But with regard to like curling or other activities, or even like a class, sometimes in my experience, it's just like if you ask, like for example, we asked for a chair exercise class and we got it. So if nobody asks or nobody knows there's a need for it, then it's not going to happen, right?
Oh, wonderful. Yeah,
Like I know with Jocelyn, she wanted a piece of equipment when she moved to Nanaimo at her rec center, and she just happened to ask, "Hey, do you guys have this?" They're like, "No, but we'll get it." You know, so sometimes it's as simple as that. I know it's not always that easy, but it's a start.
great idea. Thank you so much.
Groups nowadays, it's like curling. You just contact Curl BC. They have like it's a lot of sports are integrated now with able-bodied. So yeah, like curling. Definitely the person to contact is Melissa with Curl BC. I can give Terry that her contact info and stuff. So, but yeah, we're doing a lot of good things in Surrey, and I know Vancouver has a lot of really good adapted programs, and I think what Kim said is really important to, if you connect with a peer, and like I have exercise class tonight, and I mean, I don't want to go, but I know other people are there that are kind of counting on me to go, and you know, so if you have someone that's sort of relying on you to go and not be the only person there, then that helps for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, I wish that I could be that person to be able to be in every place at every time that can say, "Hey, come with me, right? Let's go do this together," or whatever. And I'm sure all of us would be like that, but it's not always possible. But maybe if there's a way that we can connect a couple people that we know in certain areas to say, "Hey, so-and-so is going to be at this place, you know, you should go with them," or, you know, that would probably start, right? Because, yeah, I mean, I have a little kid and he doesn't want to go do the stuff alone, right? And then I said, you know, same for adults. Most of us don't really want to go do stuff alone where we don't think that we know anybody, or, you know, it can be scary. So awesome. Cheryl, you haven't said anything. I'm putting you on the spot. We're at 5:30, but do you want to share any cool stuff you're doing?
Sorry, because my kids are here. That's why I muted myself. Yeah, so kids are home. Well, I actually have, when Josh was on earlier, I was actually interested with how he was talking about yoga, because I did try yoga myself, but yoga with my husband, because my husband was so much into it, and I tried doing it with him. It was a Bikram yoga, so you know it's hot. But when I was doing it in the beginning, because I'm T2 to T4, incomplete paraplegic, so a problem is I also have autonomic dysreflexia.
Yeah.
So it's a big challenge for me to do the yoga, like, because it's hot and I have to be like, maybe I'm just there for 15 minutes, and in the beginning I would go out after 15 minutes because it's just too hot. Like, I'd rather not have a stroke than, you know, completing the yoga session, right? And my instructor understood that. Unfortunately, the instructor who got me in there, she was understanding of how to address my needs, like make it adaptable for me in some ways, like she would be there to assist me. But the rest of the instructors, because you don't get the same instructor all the time. There was one person when she's just so strict that she cannot go out, even though it's very, very hot. So I went out like after 20 minutes, and she came out and said, "So are you well rested now?" And I got so pissed off because she doesn't understand that, hey, I'm a person with disability and this is my condition. She just barked on me. And I was totally frustrated with that. So what I did is I realized too that, you know, the yoga that normal people do, it's not really adaptable for us the first half, because everything is standing movement, and whereas I am sitting, so I do my own thing. So I tried researching online yoga in wheelchair, and you don't really find a lot of resources that can really tell you exactly what to do, especially when you have it. I guess it depends on what kind of disability that you have. So I find it quite interesting that Josh is doing yoga. Interested, like, is he paraplegic or quadriplegic? I assume
he is a para, but the girl we were talking about earlier, Mary Jo, she's a para, and she's quite high, C5, and she's a yoga instructor. So I could put you in touch with her, Cheryl.
How's that possible?
Yeah, I'm actually interested in that. The other thing that I'm doing also right now is I recently, like 3 weeks ago, hired a personal trainer because I really want to go back to being fit again. I haven't stood with the braces for the past 9 years because I had kids. You know, even if it's just physiologic standing, right? And as we're getting older, I find that my hips, there's something wrong with my hips. I'm a lot, especially at night. So I want to go back to standing. So I hired a personal trainer because I just don't like traveling down to Blossom because it takes me 2 hours one way, 2 hours back. I tried doing that last week when I went to GF Strong, but it's too tiring. So yeah, so basically that's what I've been doing these days. Just trying to get back in shape.
I'm waiting for her to say goodbye.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Getting back into shape, especially after 9 years after having a kid, you've become like in mom mode, and then a little bit more. You've got 2 ones, and one's a bit younger, so you're not quite.
Yes.
Mine's a little bit more independent now, so I can start doing things again, which is kind of nice. So you're almost there, Cheryl.
Yeah, working hard now, and that's the reason too I decided to get involved with the group. Met Kim and Marnie, and tomorrow I'll be joining their pizza, the picnic and chocolate tomorrow.
Awesome. Well, that's good.
And to get active.
That's good. Well, I hope, yeah, like, I don't know, I'd like to be able to do a little bit more virtual fitness stuff online. There's actually, when I was in Sweden, they did a fitness class that they do online, which I thought was really interesting, but there were 70 people, about 70 people that attended their fitness class. Like just fitness in wheelchairs, like a bunch of people in there. It was really quite amazing. And anyways, I thought, wow, I could probably do stuff that's a little more active. I'm sure we have people in the community that could do that, and you know how to do it from a chair online, right? Why not? So yeah, maybe I'll get Josh to do our first yoga one. He can figure it out. We'll work on it together.
Yeah, maybe you can do a class online, like, you know, we can watch on YouTube or like a virtual yoga.
Exactly. Class. Yeah.
I know Mary Jo is working on that actually.
Is she? Oh, okay.
Yeah, getting something online, and I know a couple other people that are working on online stuff like that. Yeah. So,
yeah.
That just reminded me of something I wanted to ask James.
Yeah.
If he's still there. I think he mentioned there was like adapted water skiing like in Vancouver area.
That I do not know. Actually, wait a second. I do know that. Rob Goss.
Oh yeah.
Goose.
GOSSE.
Is it G-O? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few people down there that's
actually in the Fraser Valley, like Chilliwack or Abbotsford or something like that. He does it, Marn.
Yeah, they used to do it at Abbotsford. I wasn't too sure if they were still doing it, or Fraser Valley Water Ski Club.
Yeah, I think he's like it, but
yeah, I'm not sure. He comes up to the Kamloops Adaptive Ski Program too.
Okay, cool.
Every year, yeah. He's on. He's on Facebook too, so easily accessible.
Perfect. Yeah, I used to ski a lot. I still have 3 skis, but I don't think I get out. But I just want to have information for people, right? So
come on out. Come on. Yeah. When is that? August the 10th and 11th.
Party. Where are you doing it? Kamloops or Kelowna?
It's south of Kamloops at Shumway Lake. And there's room there to camp, so we usually take our trailers or tents or campers or whatever and just stay there for the weekend because it's a good time.
Awesome. Kim wanted me to mention also bocce ball and bowling are events that they're organizing too. Anyone can say it. She's saying bye. And we're all going to say bye because we're after the time and it's dinner. So we all got to get going. So thank you, everybody, for showing up and sharing your ideas. I love it.
Thank you, Jerry.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone, for help.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.